Being in Time by Martin Heidegger is one of the most influential books in 20th century Western philosophy. His method is derived from the phenomenology of the German philosopher Edmund Husserl, but Heidegger approached this method to address perhaps the most profound philosophical question of all, the question of ontology, which responds to the inquiry, what does it mean to be, or what is the meaning of being? Therefore, in order to clarify this, there must be an exploration of being in time from Heidegger's concept of Dasein and its related concepts such as anxiety, being in the world, being towards death, and above all, the concept of temporality. These are crucial terms for understanding Heidegger's philosophy. In his book Being in Time, the most fundamental distinction for Heidegger is the difference between Sein, which means being in German, and Seiende, which means beings or things. According to Heidegger, this means that we are entities, along with physical objects, and all these entities exist. However, Heidegger is not interested in their characteristics as entities. Instead, his focus is on their way of being or existence. He views existence as an activity where being or existence is performed by these entities. Therefore, Heidegger is not interested in the entities themselves except in understanding the way of their being or Sein in German. Here, the meaning of phenomenology arises from the standpoint of phenomena. This means that Heidegger's use of Husserl's phenomenology, as he wishes to understand, is to grasp our primordial fundamental experience while avoiding the influence of science, history, or popular culture. Instead, he only looks at experience as an emergent experience. Therefore, in Heidegger's project, his goal is literally letting what shows itself show itself in the way that it shows itself. Here, he describes what people call experience as appearances that reveal themselves to us and does not make presuppositions related to them. Instead, he only describes the basic level of experience or evidence. Heidegger states in his book, Being in Time, that while he desires to understand the meaning of being or Sein per se, it is perhaps the primary question for him. We should not immediately jump into this question. We first need to inquire and interrogate a particular kind of entity and examine the mode of its existence as a path towards understanding the meaning of being or existence itself. Now, the chosen entity should have an understanding of its own being or existence as a mode of accessing existence. This means that instead of asking about the mode of existence of a rock, a tree, a dog, or a plant, we can ask about the specific mode of existence of an entity that we know raises questions about being or existence. None other than humans or human beings. Here, Heidegger clearly states that this is the only starting point of his inquiry, or the question concerning the meaning of being. Now, the result of Heidegger's analysis is significant, because Heidegger was able to produce a new form of phenomenology of appearances as they present themselves. However, it is no longer Aristotelian, Cartesian, Kantian, or Husserlian, as Heidegger did not characterize human life as ego, mental substance, or mind within a physical world. Such modes of describing things disappeared from Heidegger's mind. This is because, in his demonstration, the mode of human existence is different from the mode of existence of physical objects or animals, because humans are not just a peculiar thing, but have a distinct manner of existence. In connection with this, the existence of humans that he describes is the existence of a bodily active agent, open, vulnerable, and literally drawing definition from its relationship with the world. It is a being with limited time, referring to human mortality, and limitations in its moral capacities, meaning it is not a fixed concept in many ways. Here, Heidegger produced a new general conception of humans which does not employ Aristotle's concept of substance, Descartes' Cartesianism, Kant's transcendental concept, or Husserl's transcendental ego. To describe Heidegger's analysis of the mode of human existence, it is necessary to first establish or describe its entirety. Here, what Heidegger attempts to do is to start with the primary categorization of the mode of human existence that he examines in various steps. In a larger stage, he needs to accomplish this, and when he does, he will provide his description of our everyday mode of existence, or what humans are in their everydayness. In the end, he will realize that there is more to it because not only do we need to describe humans in their everyday descriptions, but also what humans are when they become authentic or true to themselves. Furthermore, in each of the two stages of Heidegger's analysis, the existence of Dasein will have a tripartite structure, where there are three aspects of Dasein's existence. At the end of his analysis, these three aspects will be related to time, past, present, and future. In the first stage, Heidegger described humans as Dasein, which means existence in German, but at an etymological level, it can be examined as das Sein, or their being, or known in popular translation as being there. Here, Heidegger's meaning referring to Dasein, or what he calls as is thrown into the world, it means that humans are Dasein, or thrown into the world, or the state of life as thrownness. In the second stage, Heidegger presented the structure of Dasein's existence under the category of being in the world, and this has multiple significations. First, the world is part of the existential structure of Dasein, meaning Dasein is within the world based on its signification. He called this worldhood, that we produce through the continuation of our experience. Now, one of the essential phenomena of being in the world, aside from worldhood, is the concept of being inness, or also called discloseness, clearing, there. Although this is a peculiar way of speaking, Heidegger's aim is to use simple words that can carry and store profound meanings in them. According to Heidegger, only Dasein is within the world, in the essential sense that we are open to it, and in our presence, it is disclosed. This means that humans have experiences. For example, a cup of coffee, according to Heidegger, the cup of coffee is within the world, while I am within the world. It means that the way I am situated in the world has a fundamental distinction in the mode of existence compared to the way the cup of coffee is within the world. This is because we experience the world. On the other hand, the cup of coffee does not experience anything. Heidegger continued to refer to Dasein as inness, or the existence of Dasein as Lichtung, meaning light and clearing in the forest. To demonstrate this, imagine a clearing in the forest, a place where it is dark outside, and in the process of clearing, you find that there is light at the end and you have the ability to see things, the grass, plants, animals, and more. We, as Dasein, are like a clearing in the woods. If there were no people, there would only be forest. But when we as Dasein enter a room or any environment, we bring with us our capacity to experience events, where things are disclosed in our surroundings. This is what Dasein does with things. As a result, Heidegger carries out a reinterpretation of the word consciousness and the word experience in the concept of clearing where things are disclosed. Now, Dasein sees existence in the world in a tripartite structure. where the ordinary being or existence of Dasein in the world is evident, in how it can be categorized in three ways through the tripartite structure. The first part of this structure is called Existentiality, which refers to the projection into the possibility of encountering things, in essence, understanding. Therefore, Dasein understand things. According to Heidegger, there is no point in asking the philosophical question, does Dasein understand anything? Can we be mistaken about everything? For Heidegger, this is absurd because humans always understand things. This is how it experiences things. However, sometimes we also make mistakes in understanding things. We bring to ourselves and project onto our surroundings a network of meanings where things are disclosed in experience and it shows their relationship. Thus, Dasein, as it lives, continually projects outward the context of possibilities that are disclosed in its experiences. Here, it is necessary to establish that understanding, for Heidegger, is always connected to the notion of possibility. For example, if we understand what a cup of coffee is, it is not because we have seen a solid white object shaped like a cylinder emitting hot temperature with a hint of black chemical, and from this sense data, I have inferred that it is a cup of coffee, and in understanding it, it can be used for drinking. When I saw the cup of coffee because I am familiar with it, I understand the cup of coffee based on what it can be used for or its possibilities of use. And possibilities are related to the future. It means that the orientation of understanding towards the context of possibilities refers to possible actions and possible experiences that can be encountered in the object of the future. And the second part of the structure of Dasein's existence is facticity, or the fact that we are thrown into the world, open and vulnerable to it. Although it is an abstract term, Heidegger's idea here is that Dasein is always to be regarded as a state of mind or mood. It means that our facticity signifies that we are merely contingent beings at every moment. We carry the weight of the past. Here, the state of mind or mood refers to the past, an event that has brought about such a mood in us, and we carry this mood into our subsequent situations or experiences. Now, the third crucial part of Dasein's everyday existence is called falling. This is the authentic identification of Dasein with things within the world, which, for clear reasons, is commonly understood by relating oneself to the current objects and subjects or other people in the world. In falling, we submit ourselves to what Heidegger calls das Man, meaning the day in German. Here, Heidegger uses everyday German terms and alters their usage. The man in German means one, so its direct translation would be the one. It is similar to saying in English, you know what they say. So its translation in Heidegger's work is the day self. It means that in our ordinary everyday understanding or misunderstanding of being or existence, we recognize ourselves in the same current entities that surround us daily, especially our desired things or objects of desire like money and current events. On the other hand, I conform to myself and I relate to myself to whatever the public culture thinks, what they think, and whatever the newspapers say. This is also where Heidegger's main criticism of modern mass culture originates. Many of us live according to the day except for our authentic phenomena of existence. There is no doubt that Dasein escapes from the day self and appropriates things or entities because Dasein desires to avoid angst or anxiety, the uncanny. However, for Heidegger, anxiety is not inherently bad for humans because it is the appropriate response to the finite, open-ended nature of human existence. It is only in moments when we feel anxiety, an open-ended sense of fear or dread regarding our existence as human beings, that this fear becomes significant for Heidegger, because it is in these moments that we truly recognize the truth about human existence. Now, the truth about humanity and what underlies it is care, or being already in the world. And this is where the first half of the book, Being in Time, is found, as there are two stages in the analysis of Dasein. Here, Heidegger asserts that the fundamental truth in the everyday existence of human beings is that we care. Dasein, at its existential level, possesses care, and it cannot get rid of care because its existence or being is an issue within itself. Therefore, in order to reveal care, one must experience anxiety. Thus, Heidegger's preliminary analysis of the everyday life of human beings is that Dasein is a form of care. To complete the tripartite structure of his analysis, Heidegger defines care as being ahead of itself in its constant being already in the world, as being alongside entities, because Dasein is a form of care. Here, it can be observed that the three modes ahead of itself is connected to understanding and the possibility that refers to the future. And being already in the world is always connected to the past and the state of mind or mood, and being alongside entities is connected to the present, where the day or dasman and the entities in the surroundings are found. Here, the modes of Dasein's existence are revealed, where its structure is always connected to three primary components: understanding and existentiality, mood and facticity, and falling into the identification of entities in the day self of the present. Now, this is the picture of everyday Dasein, which Heidegger considers to be the most fundamental in existence. For him, this is how we often are, the image of our lives in the image of these three modes. And we typically fall into the inauthentic fallenness and constantly manifest care in buying or consuming things, whatever is in the news or what the day says about us, which leads to a lack of understanding of our existence. Here, there was a realization in the first part of Being in Time that it needs to continue. To understand what the image of Dasein is when it achieves its self-completion. In other words, whether we are authentic or truly its own. Therefore, in authentic Dasein, understanding or being ahead of itself and facticity, or always already being in the world, are re-established in the second half of Being in Time in two crucial ways towards the realization of authentic Dasein. To accomplish this, one must return to the concept of ahead of itself, or the projection of understanding towards the possibility of the future. In the process of projecting understanding towards the possibility of the future of ahead of itself and how it will take its understanding towards the future leads to authentic potentiality for being a whole. Death, our inevitable death. Thus, Dasein alone is the only being that recognizes that it will also die. The potentiality for being a whole of Dasein means being towards death. And living towards death does not mean that we leave our house to die or shorten our life to go straight to death, but living towards death or being towards death is necessary for authentic Dasein, or the recognition that our being moves toward its end. And Heidegger, as an atheist, sees our death as our ultimate end. Therefore, the first part of authentic Dasein is living towards death, the completion of its authentic Dasein. Now, as always being already in the world as part of the tripartite structure related to mood, Dasein has the potentiality to experience guilt. For Heidegger, this refers to what we are not. Therefore, If Dasein is authentic, it recognizes all that is not, never was, and never will be. This refers to awareness or recognition of the type of existential guilt for Heidegger. However, guilt for Heidegger is a good thing, but it does not merely mean guilt in a superficial sense like did I lie to my spouse, did I yell at my child, or what specific actions caused a pang in my heart, but it is guilt that refers to a person's awareness or recognition of their specific limitations, just as recognizing the impending death is recognizing the specific limitation of time or temporality. Awareness or recognition of our death is awareness or recognition that a person has many deficiencies or shortcomings in what they have not yet been and will not become. When Dasein combines these two forms of awareness within itself, it begins to listen to its own existence or its actual mode of existence in Heidegger's language. And in the process of Dasein listening to its existence, it disengages from the inauthentic everyday dayness and instead attains what Heidegger calls anticipatory resoluteness. Here, anticipation is related to death or being towards death and is also related to the guilt of the past. Thus, anticipatory resoluteness refers to the complete, confident acceptance of guilt in anticipation of our death. Here, Dasein now hears the call of its authentic existence, thus no longer falling into falling. Now, it is clear at this point that the structure of being describes the existential series of structures of Dasein. However, at its deepest level, temporality is found. Again, Heidegger in the actual book Being in Time only realizes this at the end. Because what unites the entire analysis of being in time from the beginning to anticipatory resoluteness is the three modes of past, present, and future. At this point, Heidegger states that the existential structure of Dasein, the profound meaning of its existence or the profound meaning of the mode of our existence, is letting itself come towards itself or the future in the presence of making entities present or the present. This means that time is when the true self approaches itself as a formerly always present, and while understanding that it is always present, and the act of showing entities or recognizing the presence of entities. Thus, the existence of Dasein is based on the structure of time. Now, to summarize, in general, we examined the archaeology of the structure of human existence from and through several stages, from calling the human as Dasein to the primary characterization of the mode of being of Dasein as being in the world, towards the two structures of worldhood and being in this closeness clearing there, following the fragmented structures of understanding, state of mind, and the day. Anxiety in these conditions signifies the disclosure of care as the primary structure of everyday Dasein. However, afterwards, we see being towards death in the state of guilt as indicating the need for anticipatory resoluteness. All of this shows that the meaning of being human, or what does it mean to be in its entirety, is to be temporal, to be a finite entity in time.